On Rosh Chodesh Elul, we begin to say an additional chapter of Tehillim at the end of davening, LeDovid Hashem Ori. And you would think that if we're going to add an extra paragraph to Tehillim to davening during this time of year, it would be something which is related to tshuva. After all, this is the time of the year that's related to tshuva. But the truth is that LeDovid Hashem Ori is not really much about tshuva. Firstly, if you read it, and I invite you to pause the video and reread it if you haven't recently, when you read it, you'll see that there's almost nothing in it that discusses tshuva. Secondly, we continue saying this Mizmor of Tehillim past Rosh Hashanah and past Yom Kippur and even past Hoshana Rabbah until Shmini Atzeres. And by Shmini Atzeret, the tshuva season is really over. So if it's really meant to motivate us to do tshuva, so then it seems that it should have been ended before Shmini Atzeres. And I like to take a look at the Mizmor and try to find an understanding of what it actually means and why we say it at this time of year. And this is not a particularly original interpretation, but one that I've gathered from multiple articles and mefarshim that I've read, though I don't recall the particular sources. So when you read LeDovid Hashem Ori, the unified theme that carries through the whole Mizmor is David's encounters in wars. Mimi Evcha v'Karov Alei Miraim Lechol B'Tzari Tzarai V'Oivai. The entire thing, almost all of it, is about his confrontation with enemies or in fights. And the thing that's disjointed about LeDovid Hashem Ori is that there seems to be a very clear divide in the middle of the Mizmor, so much so that some have suggested that it's really two separate Mizmorim combined together. But in the first three psukim, the tone and attitude that David HaMelech has is extremely confident. Hashem ma'oz chayai, God is my stronghold, mimi evchad, I have no one to fear. When my enemies come, heima kashlu v'nafalu, they stumble before me. In other words, not only do I win my battles, but I don't even have to take any effort, they all just fall on their own before me. Bezod ani boteach, I have absolute confidence. Pasuk Dalid, where there's the insertion of the song, Achat Shoalti, is one pasuk which is not about a war, but speaking about his desire to be in the house of God for his days. And then he returns to the theme of war and conflicts, but the tone becomes extremely non-confident and more nervous, more of a mispalel, begging God for salvation in a difficult time. He yitzbeneni b'sukkah, God will hide me. When you don't hide when you're confident, you hide when you're weak. God hides me in the sukkah b'yom ra'ah, on the bad day. And goes on as we read through. Shema Hashem koli akra, please hear me. Chaneni, be merciful to me. Please don't hide your face from me. I know you might. I'm nervous that you might. Please don't. You are my helper. Ki avivi imi azavuni v'Hashem yasfeni. My parents have forsaken me. Ki kama bi edei sheker. False witnesses have come against me. David feels betrayed by people who he thought were loyal to him. And he asks God for salvation. So the second section of the final section of the Mizmor are much less confident and much more nervous. But the theme that really unifies the entire Mizmor is highlighted here is God. God's name is mentioned in almost every pasuk at least one time. And the unified theme is his connection and his dependence on God. And what it seems to be is actually one Mizmor, but David HaMelech reflecting on different experiences that he's had. When things are strong for David, and of course David had times of his life when he felt strong and confident and secure, and times of his life that he was running away in fear. And what David HaMelech is doing is reflecting on all of his experiences and saying, when things are strong and I'm confident and secure, it's because of Hashem. It's because of God. God is my stronghold. I thank Him and recognize that everything I have is because of Him. The second half of the Mizmor is about the fact that when things are not so strong and things are not so secure for him and he's nervous and he's worried, he also turns to God in his tefillos and his begging of God to save him when all others who were his supporters have turned on him. And in all contexts of life, David HaMelech finds the language to relate to God. And that's really the entire Sefer Tehillim. David HaMelech, through every different experience of life, always finding a way to connect to God through that experience. And I think that the transition of the Mizmor is totally removed from all of his wars, his desire to be in the house of God, probably referring to the Beis HaMikdash, but in general, his hope to articulate the fact that he always wants to be in the presence of God, lachazos b'noam Hashem, to always be in God's sanctuary, in His temple, to always relate to God and connect to God and to see God and to have a relationship with Him. And it's a centerpiece of this Mizmor because that's really what both sides are saying, that whether he's in a time of confidence and strength or whether he's in a time of weakness, he always wants to be lachazos b'noam Hashem, to be in the presence of God for all of his days. And that's really the legacy that David HaMelech has for us, that through all experiences to give us the language to bring God into our lives. Back to the question we started with, why is LeDovid Hashem Ori said at this time of year? I believe it's because the broader season of Elul and Tishrei is beyond tshuva, but it is about having a relationship with God in multiple ways. It begins with tshuva. It begins with tshuva and Elul. It continues on Rosh Hashanah with our internalization of God as our King. It continues with our recognition that He's our judge and He's controlling our lives, and our attempt to do tshuva through Aseres Tshuva and Yom Kippurim, and continues also through Sukkos and Shmini Atzeres, where we attempt to relate to God in different ways, through simcha, through celebration, through appreciation of God as the King of the world, and as in His particular role as the King of and leader of the Jewish people. And overall, the entire season is about relating to God in multiple ways and experiences, and therefore the LeDovid Hashem Ori is a mizmor that is appropriate for this time of year, as it speaks to God as the God that we have and can relate to in all of our experiences.